totally based on what is rural development, what is rural planning, what is strategy, what is social structure. These are all included in MARD course, and this is very beneficial to all of you. Even myself is professor. Let me introduce myself. Myself, Professor Vinita Lal, and I'm a professor in India. So not so much going to introduce myself, and because we have not so much time, but I know we have a 2 hours, but for me it's not so much time. So we are going to start our first lecture, that is MARD 101. This is a MARD 101 is a rural development course in an Indian context. So without taking so much time, I'm going to share my PPT. Just wait for a minute, for a second. Is it visible? Is it
Not
visible?
Not
Madam,
yet.
it's not visible.
Okay, let me check. Now is it visible?
No, we cannot see.
Okay. Let me once try, then otherwise.
Now it's coming, ma'am.
Okay.
Now it's coming here.
So this is rural development and Indian context. So in Indian context, wait a minute. Just have a patience and wait a minute. Okay, is it visible now? Is it visible? Can you hear me, to all of you?
Yes,
ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. So in this portion, we have a 4 block, and I'm going to take one block, that is rural society, and which I will cover introduction to rural society, rural social structure, rural economy, and rural urban linkage. So rural society means it's society that lives in a village, it is independent on natural environment, and rural economy rests predominantly on agricultural and allied activities. So these society have a low density of population and intimate groups and have oral tradition. So rural society are very rich in culture and tradition. So our next slide is Mr. Prasad. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Please remove for me as a co-host, because it is always disturbing, continuing disturb me.
Ma'am,
I'm not able to.
No, but it will be required. Anyway, I'm here for 10 minutes so that if new learner comes, then I'll be able to allow them. But meanwhile, if I will leave the meeting, then you should have option to continue as a host. Otherwise, meeting will be stopped.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
thank you.
I don't think that
Ma'am,
many.
sorry for disturbing. In case if you need any volunteers, we will here also to support.
Okay, okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
you can give, yeah.
so who is volunteering? I can
This
make
is
you.
this is Navid Nedrat. So I'm here. I can just voluntarily support ma'am to do not disturb her
Okay, okay.
during the presentation.
Okay, yes. Thanks, thanks. So I'm making you the co-host so that Mr. Your name is yeah,
Navid,
Navid.
Navid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm making you a co-host so that in between, if any learner joins, please allow him.
All right,
Okay.
sir. All right, sir.
Okay.
It's well
Okay.
noted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
You're most welcome.
So, rural society is in which there is a low ratio of inhabitants to open land, in which the most important economic activities are in the production of the foodstuff, fiber, and raw materials. So such areas are difficult to define with great precision for although in the non-industrialized nation, the transition from city to countryside, and it is usually abrupt, so it is gradual in industrialized societies, making it difficult to pinpoint the boundaries of the rural society. A second, the related problem is that the government do not use the same statistical criteria for the rural and urban population. Especially, I would quote in Japan, in South Africa, in Afghanistan. For instance, any cluster of fewer than 30,000 people is considered rural, where in Albania, a group of more than 400 inhabitants regarded as an urban population. In meanwhile, I'm try to give some example to other countries. So in the past, rural society were typified by the adherence to farming as a way of life, such as culture were not goal or achievement oriented. Their members sought substance nor surplus, marked by high regard for intimacy and traditional values. Like farming communities were often regulated by kinship customs and rituals. This is a very common thing in rural society. And in the particular, the ownership, uh, like the ownership and care of productive land was strictly guarded by the tradition. Collectively, these characteristics are often designated by the term Gemeinschaft. Gemeinschaft is an introduced by a German sociologist, I think, Fernandez Tonis. It is described the contrasting nature of urban life with the term Gesellschaft, and a state characterized by impersonal bureaucracy. So, the rural society, rural inhabit works with people they know well and reaccustomed to relationship of the great intimacy and small scale, where urban dweller known each other in the narrow segmented way that have little to do with family or friendship. So according to Fernand Tonis and some other sociologists, said all societies are characterized by mixture of Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. So whenever agriculture is almost completely mechanized, is closer to Gesellschaft end of the spectrum, where the rural India, which is heavily guided by the tradition, is an example of Gemeinschaft. So this is all rural society. Now come to the rural India. Rural India, as what is rural society? As everyone know, India lives in a village. So it is society in which there is a low relation of an event that I have told you. In past, rural society were typified by adherence to farming. This is also I have told you. There are poor and affluent village. The affluent village of Punjab, it is an example, and those villages where family member receive handsome amount of money regularly from those of the young member who lived in here and abroad. We have Indian village have two type of village. One is nucleated village, and other is dispersed village. Dispersed village is also known as a scattered settlement. It is one of the main type of settlement pattern used by the landscape historians to classify rural settlement found in the uh, India and also England and some other part of the country. So this is a dispersed village, and nucleated village is a kind of like one of the main type of settlement pattern is a it is a one of the term used by geographers and landscape historians to classify settlement, and it is most accurate in regard to planned settlement, and also it concept is one in which the houses, even most farmhouses within the entire associated area of land, such as parish, cluster, around a central church, which is perhaps close to the village greens. So, cluster settlement contrast with dispersed settlement and linear settlement. One is polyfocal settlement, that is, two or more adjacent nuclear villages that have expanded and merged to form cohesive overall community. So, uh, subcategory of cluster settlement is a planned village community deliberately deliberately established by the landowner or the stated and the enforced planning policy of local authorities and the central government. Come to the next slide. What is artisan and craftsman in the rural society? Rural artisan, it is described as a skilled worker uh, who derive more than 50% of his livelihood income from the village. Art craft like hand makers, weavers, sari stole, short dhoti, they are all are artisan. And craftsman person who makes things skillfully, especially with her or hand, means artisan is a skilled in an applied art, makes a distinctive product in a small quantity, and craftsman is a sort of amalgam of both. So one yet artists like David Hockney and Hokuso are called craftsmen, and artisan can be anyone from a baker to silversmith, like making candlestick. So these things are artisan and craftsman. I think that the main difference is how people respond to piece and questions. So artisan and craftsman have a little difference. These are under in rural society. Now come to the urban society. Urban society, everyone know, it is a every society and understand the characteristic as a urban area, and urban area are mainly defined by the high dense population with a lot of heterogeneity, and there is also a better infrastructure and high level of employment, everyone know. So how does rural community differ from an urban community, or how does rural society differ from the urban society? So one of the main distinguish feature between rural and urban society is a population. This is the main difference. And rural area are not as a highly populated as urban community. Let me tell you what are the five characteristics of the society city. Sit, please mute yourself. I think city are the part of the urban areas, and there are several characteristics of city like high population, social distance, economic mobility, formal relationship, and heterogeneity. So now come to the what is an urban society means. It refer to anything connected to city and town whether it is living or anything taking place in these locations, and it is defined as a way of life among city and town inhabitants and how they all interact with each other. So, urbanization involve the creation of social institution and how they interact with their environment. So, more than half of the world population lives in the city, and by 2015 it's expected clearly 70% of world population will lives in the city. It is a rapid urbanization, or the process where place becomes more urban means the most of us will someday live in the city. So, what makes city a city? This might seems like very obvious question, but it's one that social scientists who study city have spent long time pondering. City are like a complex organism with particular feature, and cities are very dynamic, unique, and diverse places. And in we will talk the what exactly make cities unique, including the distinguishing them from the rural places. Let me tell you one how what is urban, what is rural. Little bit difference. I would like to tell you. Human settlement can be equal or can be rural or urban based on the density of people living in a very particular area. This is a main difference. And urban areas are primarily towns and cities, where rural areas are predominantly village and smaller town. So one of the major difference between rural and urban area is the heterogeneous nature of the uh, urban areas. So people from different background and different part of coverage in the most metropolitan areas in search of better opportunities. And rural area, on other hand, do not have such diversities in their population, and most people in rural area are mainly from the very specific locale. One another very key difference is the high concentration of highly educated people in rural area as compared to not a rural area, it is in urban area. And as compared to a rural area, this is because urban areas are urban areas are full of amenities like social, economic, and otherwise, which allow people in these areas to be better educated. So most educated people from rural area, it tend to migrate to urban area and hoping to get better opportunities in term of employment. So uh, what is the main characteristic of urban society? First is population, urban areas is the higher and larger areas, larger than the rural area. And the one second is urban community are densely populated with increased number of people living per square kilometers. Second one is heterogeneity. As everyone know, urban areas are commonly heterogeneous. This is mean that population is exceptionally diverse and has a different classes, different caste, different races, different ethnicities and religion. And this heterogeneity is also manifest in the employment opportunities available in the almost all industries. So this feature is unlike rural area which may present dominant economic activity, and it is based on region like agriculture, like poultry farming. So this is all urban society. Now come to the what is correlation or relation between urban and rural society. What is interrelation? So if we say Urban area rely on rural areas to meet their demand for food, water, wood, all raw materials, which are basically product of the rural ecosystem services. So the benefit of rural areas gain from urban development, such as market, farm, inputs, employment, and opportunities. So they are all only part society within the larger whole, and they stand not at equidistance from each other. So tribal and rural society is also closely related to tribal and rural society are related to very close to nature, but not a urban society. Now come to the next. What is the nature of village? Nature of village are basically our settlement of small population. As I told you, small population of people in the small area, which follows agriculture not only as an occupation but also a way of life. Village people live together in the surrounding of the nature, and it is a way of life in the sense of that mode of production. What it tempers is reflected in every form of village activity. So village people share intimate and informal relationship with one another. This is not in rural society, and it is not in city area. So village signifies, or a village community signify, a group of people in which people do not take part in the particular interest. This is not happen in a city area. Now come to the next slide. Nature of the city. This is a nature of the city, like the contrast to village. uh, Urban cities, urban society, and it is characterized by Louis Wirth, with noted by large size, high density population, heterogeneity, have a large population. These are the nature of the city. And city are place where people have a most modified nature. Building protects people from the extreme of heat, cold, by air condition. Vegetarian is managed by elaborate planting, watering, fertilization system. Introduce a invasive, specific often dominate, and if not overwhelm native ones. Rivers are channelized in city. This is a very particular character, embanked and diverted. Water supplied are from the pumped from the deep aquifer and piped from the distance reservoir. Even healthcare system, albeit where in the effectiveness and accessibility, protect much of the world population from the world communicable disease, which is not in village. Urban area are often very comfortable, congenial, and civilized places in which uh, in which to live. Yet urban dweller ignores nature at their peril. So if we give few examples, like one, I have studied Hurricane Sandy on the east coast of United States in 2012, and one is I have studied Dhaka in 2018 in Manila. So these, to cope with all natural events, city have to well managed and well governed. So the to degree to which individual cities can provide security uh, and protection for their inhabitants is in a part related to severity. So severity and magnitude and frequency of natural events, and it is in part influenced by the extent to which building and infrastructure are able to withstand those events, and in part dependence upon the resilience of urban society. So the latter comprises its ability to adapt to both abrupt major events and to slower, more gradual changes like consequences of local urban growth and land use changes and global economic, technological, environmental changes, especially climate changes. So improving urban condition required taking a holistic view, seeing the problem at a range of scale from the individual household to the whole metropolitan region, and appreciating the relationship between an individual daily activities and the changing character of the city, and realizing how altering one component of urban environment and affect the whole series of other aspect of area other aspect of built up area. Now come to the next slide. What is rural urban uh, interaction? Very famous sociologist Robert Redfield used for rural urban community or interaction is a little community and great community. Little community for rural society, and it is characterized in a small size. As I told you, a very homogeneous and member are very less unlettered. So this is a rural urban interaction, and I would like to quote one study here. Uh, Trade and trust, the question of livelihood and social capital in rural urban interaction. This study is given by Leo D. Hand. He said rural urban interaction are considered as a linkage across space, flow of people, goods, services, finance, information between urban and rural society. So we will draw mainly upon this thing for rural and urban interaction. Now come to the next slide. The second unit is our rural social structure. Just a minute. In rural social structure, we will cover introduction, Indian society, rural and urban. Rural social structure is which I will discuss major institution, that is family, kinship, and marriage, system of caste, class, tribe, and rural social structure have a religion, occupation, and education. Now come to the next slide. This is all related to picture of these things. Rural society, as I told you, urban society also told you. Now, the rural social structure. Rural social structure is a component of India have been identified as a family, kinship, caste, class, marriage, and it is a very important feature of family and kinship in India. Now, come to the next slide. This is a very important three major social structure is a family, kinship, and marriage, which is very important in your course. Family is a group of person and united by ties of marriage, blood, adoption, constituting a single household and interacting with each other in their respective social position, usually those spouses, parents, children, and siblings. So the family group should be distinguished from a household, and which maybe include border and rumors sharing a common residence, and it should be also differentiated from the kindred who also concern bloodlines, because a kindred may be divided into several households frequently. Family is not differentiated from the marriage pair, but the essence of the family group is the parent child relationship, which may be absent from many marriage pairs. So it's most basic. Then family consists of an adult and his or her offspring, and most commonly it consists of two married adult, which men and women, almost always from different lineage and not related by blood, along with their offspring, usually living a private and separate dwelling. So this type of unite more specific called nuclear family, and it is believed to be oldest of the various type of family in existence. So sometimes the family includes not only the parents and their unmarried children having at homes, but also children living at home, but also children that have married their spouses and their offspring, and possibly elderly dependent as well. Such as arrangement is called extended family. So what is the socio-economic aspect of family? Let me tell you. uh, the family perform various valuable function for its member, and perhaps most important of all, it provide for emotional and psychological security, particularly through the warmth, love, companionship that living together it generate between spouses, and it in turn between them and their children. So the family also provide a very valuable social political function by the institutional procreation, and by providing for the guideline for the regulation. So the family additional provide such other socially beneficial functions as a rearing and a socialization of children, along with such humanitarian activities like caring for its member, whether they when they are sick or disabled. On other hand, economic side, even family provide food, shelter, clothing, and physical security for its member, some of whom may too very young or too old to provide for the basic necessity of the life. So, for the social side, the family may serve to promote order and stability within society as whole. Historically, uh, in most culture, the family was patriarchal or male dominant. Patriarchal is a male dominant. Perhaps the most striking example of the male dominant family is the description of family given is one uh, Old Testament Hebrew Bible, where the male head of the clan were uh, were allowed to have a several wives as well as concubines. As a general rule, women had a rather low status in the Roman time. The family was still patriarchal, but polygamy was not practiced, and in general, the status of women was sometime improved over the. Uh, Please mute yourself. So I request you, please mute yourself. The Roman family was an extended one, and the family as it existed in the medieval Europe was male dominated and extended. If we see in the West, industrialization and accompanied urbanization spawned and continue to spawn many changes in the family structure by causing a sharp change in the life and even occupational style. So many people, particularly unmarried youth, left farms and went to urban centers to become an industrial worker. This process led to dissolution of many extended families, and by the in industrial revolution, the modern family has emerged. After the industrial revolution, it is different from the earlier model. Patriarchal rule began to give way a greater equality between the sexes, and similarly, family roles once considered exclusively male or female broke down. Even caring of home and children, once the exclusive duty of the female is often shared activities, as increasingly is the earning of wages and pursuit of public life. Once the exclusive domain in the male. So the structure of the family is also changing. In the some couple choose not to marry legally, and instead uh, like uh, uh, instead elect to have their children out of wedlock. Many of these informal relations tend to lead short duration. So especially in western culture, the modern family is today more of a consuming as opposed to producing unit, and the family member of family work away from home rather than at home. So public authorities, primarily governmental ones, and have assumed many of the functions that the family used to provide. I would like to tell you some family law vary from the culture to culture, and it is broadest application. It define a legal relationship between among family member, as well as relationship between families and society at large. Some important question deal with family law include the term and parameter of the marriage, the status of children, the succession of the property from one generation to the next generation. And in nearly every case, family law represent a delicate balance between the interest of society and protection of individual. Now come to the kinship. Kinship means it refer how individuals are related to one another by blood, by marriage, or by adoption. It networks traditionally would to used to create the family unit by giving the individual a reason as to why they should remain a family. So kinship can be broken down into congenial, affinal, and social. And congenial include direct blood relatives like parents and children. It is a lineal kinship, and sibling is a collateral kinship. Marriages are considered as a affinal kinship. Another type of kinship can be include a social, which is not through the blood or marriage, instead through the community or religious connection. This is also kind of kinship. So family trees can track lineage and kinship. So Iravati Karve, one of the famous sociologists, done a kinship, so much work in kinship area. In the tree shown, the kinship can be tracked for the subject titled "Ego," the dark triangle in this. So the kinship is a not exactly for family. It is also can be made through the outside the society. Now come to the marriage. Marriage is a like a like a you can say legal and socially sanctioned union between man and woman. It is regulated by rules, law, custom, beliefs, and attitude the prescribe the right and duties of the pattern and accords to status of offspring, if any. So the universality of the marriage within the different society and culture is attributed to the many basic social and personal function for which it provide structures, such as sexual gratification and the regulation, division of labor between the sexes, economic production, and the consumption and the satisfaction of the personal need for affection, status, companionship. Perhaps its strongest function concern procreation. So the care of children, their education and socialization are come under in the marriage, and regulation of lines of descent through the age. Marriage have taken a great number of form, like exchange marriage, group marriage, polyandry marriage, polygamy, tree marriage. So if we see in 21st century, the nature of marriage in the Western countries, particularly with regard to significance of procreation and the ease of divorce, had begun to change. And if we see in 2000, Netherlands became the first country to legalize same-sex marriage, The law went to force on I think April 1, 2001. And in ensuing years, numerous other countries, including Canada, France, United States, Germany. So, in addition, some countries extended benefits and obligation to same-sex couple by the means of registered partnership of civil union. So, in the biological evolutionary scale, the more complex the species, the longer the offspring is dependent on the mother for the survival from the time of birth to maturity. So human being at the top of revolutionary scale require the most time of the all species to reach maturity, and this imposes increased duties on the human parents for care of their children. And marriage traditionally has been seen as the institution best suited to fulfill these parental duties and responsibilities. So, what is the marital custom and laws? Some form of marriage have been found to exist in all human societies, past and present, and it is very important that can be seen in elaborate and complex law and rituals surrounding it. Although these laws and rituals are as varied as numerous as human social and cultural organization, and some universal do apply. The main legal function of marriage is to ensure rights of the partner with respect to each other, and to ensure right and define the relationship of children within the community. So it has historically conferred a legitimate status on the offspring, and which entitled him or her to various privilege set down by the tradition of the community, including the, you can say, the right of inheritance. So in most society, marriage also established the permissible social relation, and it allowed to the offspring, including the acceptable of the future spice. If we see the late 20th century, marriage was rarely a matter of free choice. In Western society, love between spouses came to associated with marriage. But even the Western culture, one of the novelists like Henry James and Edith, he said love was not primarily motive for the matrimonies in the most era. This is one study. And if we say about endogamy, the practice of marrying someone from within one's own tribe or group is the oldest social regulation of the marriage. And when the form of communication with outside group are very limited, and endogamous marriage is a natural consequences, cultural pressure to marry with one social, economic and ethnic group are still very strongly enforced in some society, I think in every society. So exogamy, the practice of marrying outside the group, is found in societies in which kinship relation are the most important complex, and thus bearing from the marriage a large group who may trace their lineage to common ancestor. In society which the large or extended family remain the basic unit, and marriage are usually arranged by the family. So the assumption is that love between the partner come from the marriage, and much thought is given to socioeconomic advantage accruing to the accruing to the larger family from the match. And by the contracts, in society which the small or nuclear family predominant, young adults usually choose their own mates, and it is assumed that love precede or and determine marriage, and less thought is normally given to socio-economic aspect. So in society, which you can say which individual choose their own mates, dating is the most important typical way of people to meet and become acquainted there with prospective partners. So this is all about the marriage. I would like to tell you some marriage rituals, like marriage in most culture are associated with the primary with fecundity and the validate the importance of the marriage for the continuation of clan people, society. They also assert the familiar communal sanction of the mutual choice of mutual choice and an understanding of the difficulties and sacrifices involved in making what is considered is most cases. So next slide is marriage among Hindus. Marriage among, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, marriage among Hindus. This was famous sociologist gave. Iravati Karve, famous sociologist, was first woman anthropologist in India and founder of sociology in university. His range is stretched from mapping kinship and caste on the survey on the contemporary status of women and to interrupt the Hindu society and marriage, Hindu mythology within the modern custom. So, if I talk about Iravati Karve was a famous sociologist. She worked about the marriage, kinship, and family in India. Now, come to the marriage among tribals. I would like to quote one study here by K.M. Chandrakanta. He wrote in his paper Tribal Marriage and Marriage System in India, and he said marriage is one of the most important social institution, and it means establishing a family through which the society perpetuate itself. A successful marriage is presupposed trust, must mutual affection. So in tribal area, marriage is one of the most important social institution, and it means establishing family through perpetuate. Now come to the next slide. Marriage and dowry. I think everyone knows marriage and dowry, but I would like to tell you some important. What is dowry system? First, I would like to tell you it refer the durable good cash, real movable properties that the bride family give to groom. This is a very basic definition. And dowry system can be put great financial burden on the bride family. This all know. It means dowry means property or valuable security given or agreed to given either directly or indirectly. So dowry is in sense of expression contemplated by the Dowry Prohibition Act. It is a demand for property of valuable security having an extricable nexus with the marriage. And in if we see Article 3, the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, uh, in the end of session we will take a question one by one, so have a patience. Article 3 Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 is specify the penalty of for giving or taking dowry does not apply to present that are given at the time of marriage to bride or groom. It is when no demand for them has been made. This is a Indian law. Now come to the next slide. System of caste, class, and tribe, which is very important. Our famous sociologist S.C. Dubey, A.R. Desai have done lots of work in caste, class, and tribe. Caste system in India is a very paradigmatic ethnographic instead of social classification based on caste, and it has origin in ancient India. It is transformed by a various ruling elites in the medieval, early modern and modern India, especially in the aftermath of the collapse of Mughal period, and it is establishment of British Raj. It is today the basis of affirmative action program in India. It is enforced through the constitution. So the caste system have a true two concept. One is one and other is jati, and it is maybe regarded as a different level of analysis of this system. So caste system, it exists today, is thought be result of development during the collapse of Mughal era, as I told you, and the British Raj further this development, making rigid caste organization as a central mechanism of administration. If we say in between 1860 to 1920, the British incorporated the Indian caste system in their system of governance, granting administrative jobs, senior appointment only to Christians and people belonging to certain caste. And social unrest during 1940s, I think it is 1914, it led to change this policy. Caste was no longer used by the colonial authorities to functional uh, organized civil society, and this also reflected change in administrative practices, understanding of expertise, and rise of new European scholarly institutions. So caste based difference have been practiced in the religion and region in the Indian subcontinent, like Nepali Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, etc. And it has have been challenged by the many reformist Hindu movement, Sikhism, Christianity, and present day Neo Buddhism. So, with the Indian influence, the caste system is not only practiced in Bali. India, after independence in 1947, enacted many affirmative action policies for upliftment of the historically marginalized group as enforced through the constitution. So this is a caste. And as I told you, caste have two, Varn and Jati. One meaning is a type of order, color, class. It is a framework for grouping people into classes, first used in Vedic Indian society, and it is referred frequently in the ancient Indian text. So there are four classes like Brahman, Kshatri, Vash, and Shudras. These are the words. So in ancient text, Jati means birth is mentioned less often, often and clearly distinct from the one. And there are four one but thousand jatis. So jati are the very complex social group and lack universally applicable definition or characteristic, and have been more flexible and diverse than was previously often assumes. Some scholars about the caste have considered jati to have its basis in religion, and it is assuming that the sacred element of life in India and envelop the secular aspect, like one famous anthropologist Louis Dumo described the ritual ranking, and it exists within the jati system as based on concept of religious purity and pollution. Purity and Pollution is a famous book of Liu Dumo, and this view has been disputed by other scholars who believed in it to be secular social phenomena driven by the necessity of economics, politics, and at the time of geography. And some others says through some people consider jati to be the occupational segregation, and in reality jati framework does not preclude or prevent member of one caste from working in another occupation. So jati have existed in India among Hindus, Muslim, Christians, and tribal people, and there is no clear linear order among them. So the term caste is derived from the Portuguese word that is casta. It is means race, lineage, breed, and originally pure or unmixed. You can say stock or breed. So, originally not an Indian word, it is caste, widely used in English or Indian language. One of famous sociologist, G.S. Ghurye, he said, he wrote about his book. He said, we do not possess a real general definition of caste. It appeared to be me that many or any attempt at definition is bound to fail because of complexity of the phenomena. So Ghurye offered what he taught was definition that could be applied across India, and although he acknowledged there were regional variation on the general theme, and his model definition of the caste included six characteristics. One is a segmentation of society into group whose membership was determined by the birth, who lived by birth. Another characteristic is a hierarchical system wherein generally the Brahmins were at the head of the hierarchy, but this hierarchy was disputed in some cases, and in various linguistic areas, hundred of caste had gradation generally acknowledged by the everyone. Third is restriction on feeding and social intercourse with minute rules on kind of food and drink the upper caste could accept from lower caste, and there was a great diversity in these rules, and lower caste generally accepted food from the upper caste. Another characteristic is a segregation where individual castes live together, the dominant caste living in the center and other caste living in the on the periphery. There were restrictions on the use of water well, street by one caste on another. On an upper caste Brahmin might not be permitted to use a street of a lower caste group, while caste considered impure might not be permitted to draw water from a well used by the member of the other caste. Another characteristic is occupation, which is very important. Lack of unrestricted choices of profession. Caste member restricted their own member from taking up certain profession they considered degrading, and this characteristic of caste was missing from large part of India, stated Ghurye. In this region, all four castes like Brahman, Kshatri, Vaishya, Shudra did agricultural labor became warrior in the large number. The last characteristic is a endogamy, restriction on marrying a person outside the caste, but in situation hypergamy for less rigidity on the intermarriage between different subcastes than between member of the different caste in some region, and while in some endogamy within a subcaste was principal feature of the caste. So these are six characteristic of caste which was given by the Ghurye, and the above Ghurye model of the caste thereafter attracted scholarly criticism for relying on the census report produced by the colonial government. Even Ghurye added in 1932 or 33, the colonial construction of caste led to liveling up the division of the lobbying to the British official from the favorable caste classification in India for economic opportunities, and that had added new complexity to the concept of caste. So these are things are caste. Now come to the class. I will take a 10-minute break and we will meet again after 10 minutes. So I would like to take a 10-minute break.
That is good, ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you.
after 10 minutes, we will again back to the 1 hour session.
All right,
Sounds
ma'am.
great.
Oh, okay,
All right.
okay, thank
Thanks. Thanks for teaching.
سلام ملګرو ښه یاستئ هم سیمشیانو تاسو ټول ښه یاستئ او ما غوښتل چې پوښتنه وکړم چې د میډم په لیکچر باندې څومره پرسنټ پوهیږئ تاسو دغه اوس لګیا ده په انډین سوشل سټرکچر باندې لګیا ده او ډېر یو کمپلیکس سټرکچر دی د انډیا نو دې کې ځینې کاست سیستم دی ځینې ټرایبل سیستم یې دي او اپر کلاس او لوور کلاس او دې کې دا ورډز استعمالوي د براهمن او نن براهمن نو دا به زه وایم چې تاسو ته به لږ مشکل په دې باندې پوهېدل خو زمونږ د سبجیکټ هم د انډین کانټیکس په بیس باندې دی نو لږ مشکلات به وي تاسو به صبر کوئ ورته تر څو پورې دا ټرمینالوجیز چې دی دا موږ ته مخ ته را روان وخت راځي نو مخکې نه چې دا لیکچر ورکوي د ټرمینالوجیز باره کې لږ سټډي کوئ ځکه دا ډېر مشکل او ډېر کمپلیکس سیسټم دی د انډیا نو دې کې به موږ ټول به شاید مشکلات ډېر ولرو پکې
Okay, welcome once again. I'm going to share again my PPT. Is it visible?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. Now, slide is visible.
Not
It's
yet,
not
ma'am.
visible.
It's visible or not?
Not.
Not. Okay. Some network issue, I think. Just a minute. Hope so. It is visible.
Not yet, ma'am.
What happened? I don't know what happened.
Ma'am, I think the easiest way is to when sharing the screen, you need to just select the main screen, then it will share the overall.
I think I'm selecting. No. Let me check again. Time is going. Now,
It says that it's you're going to present something, but the screen is not visible.
okay, leave it. I'm going to continue. Now, okay.
It's not visible, ma'am.
No, okay, it's okay. No issue. I'm going to
Sorry, ma'am.
now come.
Sorry, ma'am. If you disconnect, now it's coming.
Okay, now it's coming.
Yes, yes, yes. It came.
Okay, now come to the class. Class is a word which is connected to social society. It is a group of people within a society who possess the same socioeconomic status. Beside being important in the social theory, the concept of class as a collection of individuals sharing a similar economic circumstances has been widely used in census and in a study of social mobility. So the term class first came into wide use in the 19th century, replacing the term as rank and order as description of major hierarchical grouping in society. And this uses reflected change in the structure of Western European society after the industrial and political revolution of the late 18th century. So feudal distinction of rank were declining in the importance and new social group that were developing the commercial and industrial capitalist and the urban working class in the new factories. It were defined mainly in the economic term either by the ownership of capital or conversely by the independent on wages. Class is mainly related to capital. So the term class has been applied to social group in a wide range of society, including ancient city state, early empire, and caste or feudal society. So it is most usefully confined to the social division in the modern society, particularly industrialized ones. So, social class must be distinguished from the status group. The former are based primarily upon the economic interest, while the latter are constituted by the evaluation of honor or prestige of the occupation, culture, position, or family. And the theory of class were fully elaborated in 19th century as modern social sciences. Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Rousseau discussed the issue of social inequality and stratification. And one French writer in late 18th, early 90s put the idea of non-political element in society like economic system and family. It is largely determined society form of political life. And this idea was taken by the French social theory Henry de Saint Simon, who was argued uh, means uh, that state form of government correspondent to the character of underlying system of economic production. Saint Simon's successor introduced the theory of proletariat, means urban working class, as a major political force in the modern society and directly influenced the developing of the Karl Marx theory of class, which has dominated later the discussion. We will discuss later. For Marx, what distinguish one type of society from another is mode of production, that is the nature of its technology and division of labor. And each mode of production enge- engender a distinguished class system in which one class control and direct the process of production while another class. If we say class, first time term used by Karl Marx, as everyone know, class given a Karl Marx given a concept caste, class, capitalistic society, capital society, all. So the relation between class are antagonistic because they are in conflict over the appropriation of what is produced and in certain period. That the mode of production itself is changing is a result of development in technology and utilization of labor. Utilization of labor such as conflict become very extreme and new class challenges and dominance of existing ruler of the society. So the dominant caste, according to Marx, control not only material production but also production of idea, and it established a particular cultural style and dominant political doctrine, and its control all over the society. It is consolidated in a particular time of political system. So rising class, the that gain strength in the mode of production, general political doctrine of and movement in the opposition to the ruling class. The theory of class is the center of the Karl Marx social theory, and it is social class formed within the particular mode of production. It tend to establish a particular form of state, animate political conflict, and bring the structure of society. So um, this is class. Some other theorist called Max Weber, he is a German sociologist. He questioned the importance of social class in the political development of the modern society, pointing out the religious, more nationalism, and the other factor play a very significant role. Even even Max Weber proposed a limiting the concept of class and it to impersonal income distinction between group, thereby distinguishing class from the social status. But the Marxian emphasis on the importance of class conflict, that is on the class, that is on the conflict and struggle between classes for control of the mean of production. And it has been the most controversial issue dividing social theorists in their analysis of class structure. Many opponents of Marxist theory have focused attention on the functional interdependence of different classes and their harmonious collaboration with each other. And by the 20th century, mid 20th century, it seems undeniable that the classes in capitalist society had tend to lose some of the other distinguished characters. So in 21st century, however, growing inequality of wealth and income became a major political issue in some advanced country, particularly in United States. And moreover, Marxist prediction of the proletariat successful revolution against the bourgeois and the replacement of the capitalist system within the classless society and have rung hollow in the light of dismal record of the most Marxist government and their wholesale collapse from the internal cause between I think 1989 and 1991. So what is the main principle? What is the characteristic of principal class? Is the upper class. We have three class: upper working class, lower class, middle class. Upper class is modern capitalist society. It is distinguished by position of the largely inherited wealth, the owner of large amount of property, income derived from the confer many advantage upon the member of the upper class. They are able to develop a distinguished style of lifestyle and to develop cultural pursuit and leisure activities. Even economically, they are very strong. Historically, principal contrast with the upper class in industrial society was provided by the working class, which traditionally consisted of manual worker in the extractive and manufacturing industries and some service sector in the world most advanced economy. It has been necessary to broaden this definition to include the working class and person who hold low paying, low skilled job in such industries like food service and retail sales. They are also considered, they are considerable difference within the working class. So it is very useful distinction exists between skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled that broadly correspondent to difference in income level. So what characterizing the working class as whole is lack of property and independence on wages. So it is associated with this condition are relatively low living standard, restricted access to higher education, and exclusion to large extent from sphere of important decision making. So this is also class. And middle class. What is middle class? To include middle and upper level of clerical worker, those engaged in technical and professional occupation, supervisor, manager, such as self-employed worker, as a small scale shopkeepers, business person, and farmer. And at the top, wealthy professional manager in the large corporation, the middle class merge into upper class, and while at the bottom, routine and poorly paid job in the sales, distribution and transport, it merged into the working class. So this is a class. Now come to the tribe. Uh, if we say Indian history has witnessed a various type of class. Wait. Okay. So most of it encompasses the caste system followed by religiously in our society. Apart from social structure in the cities, there were other society that flourished in the sideline known as tribal society, and these society did not follow the rule of Brahmins and had their own set of customs, rituals. They were also not divided into subclass, subcaste, class like the other religion. And these tribal society were used group people who had kinship bond. When one Durkheim's study about the tribal in Kurg society, these tribal societies were usually group of people have kinship bond, and tribe were more involved in primary activities. It is related to agriculture, related to animal husbandry, and some of them are also hunter gatherers. Out of these tribal society, few tribals were also nomadic. This means these tribes or group of people move from one place to another place and search for livelihood or other region, and settled tribal group on the other hand had land and animal which they owned jointly as a tribe, and the tribal leader divided the animal and land according to need and requirement of his people. So tribes were spread all across the countries. Most of the tribe live in the forest, hill, desert, far-fetched places, and there are even shred of evidence of tribal clashes among themselves as well as societies of the other religion. So the tribe continue to keep their freedom and culture separate from the rest of us on one hand, and they kept their society separate from us, but on another hand they were also dependent on us for their needs. We also traded in many handmade article and wear from them. So that led to gradual change in both society. नहीं करना. Now, exactly what is tribal society? Uh, tribe is a group of people who live work together in a shared geographical area and made up by many family, clan, generation. It share the same language, custom, beliefs. Tribe has a common culture, dialect, religion. They also have a strong sense of unity, and it is headed by a chief. And this society is a group of tribe organized around the kinship. Various type of tribal society are, like if we talk about the contemporary historian and traveler, give very little information about the tribe except for a few exceptions. Tribal people had not kept written record, yet rich ritual and oral tradition have been preserved. They were passed down to each new generation, and nowadays present day historian have begun to use such oral tradition to write tribal society. So how many type of society tribal society in India? If we find out in the Khoka tribe in Punjab was really influenced in the 13th and 14th century. Later on, Khaggar became the much more important tribe society in the Punjab, and their chief is made by Mansabdar by the Akbar. Multan and Sindh were dominated by the so many tribes. So the several area of the modern Bihar, Jharkhand, 20th century Kiros, chiefdom had also emerged. So the highland of Maharashtra, Karnataka have been home of Kolis, Beard. These are the tribes. Koris also existed in the many part of the Gujarat, and large tribal society of Koragas, Vetar, Maravar, and many other were, these are the tribes. The big tribe of Bhils was scattered across the whole western and central region. And they are the the Banjaran is also a tribe, is it the very most important nomadic trader, and their karma was commonly called as a Tanda. And so I have read one literature. Sultan Alauddin Khilji used Banjaran to transport grain to town market, and many most postal pastoral tribes have been rearing and selling animal like cattle and horses for the rich. Different small peddlers also travel from the village to village, and they have made the sold goods such as ropes, seeds, straw, mattresses, and coarse stick. Nowadays, also tribes are doing in work as an artisan, work as a craftsman. But now, a modern tribal society, it is a one-based society, and culture and tribal people have constantly interacted with each other, and the interaction was caused both kind of culture and society to adopt and change. So there were a number of tribes, they look on wide range of livelihood. So some important tribes are like Khasi, Jantia, Garo people practice matrilineality and create one of the largest community in the world. Believe in this system. And two other tribe, Birsa and Munda, have a revolutionary in our India independence struggle. It is originated from Munda tribe. It is found on in Jharkhand. And the Ghumar, a folk dance of Rajasthan, was also created by Bhil tribe. So this is all about the old age history of the tribe, and learn how they have evolved, become a modern tribal society. So this is all about tribe. Now come to the next slide. Rural structure. This is a religious, occupational, and educational structure. Without this rural structure, social structure cannot be possible. So religious structure can be defined as a group of population believing the beyond and indulging in various forms of worship of a good or gods. And sociology of religion is a very scientific approach to study of belief and practice of religion, using sociology as a tool. And the sociologists who study a religion are interested in studying every aspect of religion, including its role. So, what is the main function of religious structure? Main function is to social control, so strengthening the social order, and teaches appropriate moral behavior to individual, and it also reinforce social unity, by bringing people together, thus help to some strengthening their bond, and also give meaning and purpose to life, also help to enhancing psychological well-being and longevity of life. It also work as a social glue, heading to heading to social cohesion, and motivate to people work together positive change in society. So these things are religious structure. Now come to the occupational structure. As everyone know, it referred to aggregate of occupation in society, and in rural society, Jajmani system is a main backbone of occupational structure. Jajmani system is known for providing service to society. It was a system of traditional occupational objectives. So various factors influence the occupational structure, including economy, including technology and bureaucracy, the labor market, the status and prestige. Now come to the cultural factor. What is I would like to tell you before, education is a cultural preservation. It refers to protection and safeguarding of cultural heritage, including tangible and intangible form, to ensure the survival for future generous. It also involves the preservation of cultural aspect. So this is all about cultural preservation. Now come to the uh, educational structure. Educational structure have two educational institution: cultural preservation and socialization. Cultural preservation, I have already told, this have including intangible and tangible forms to ensure survival for the future. Now come to the socialization, which is very important in this course. Socialization is a like a process where by an individual learn to adjust to a group or in a society to behave in a manner approved by the group. According to one social scientist, um, Friedman, he said socialization essentially represent the whole process of learning through the life course, and it is a central influence on the behavior, belief, action of adult as well as children. So if we take about social issues in socialization, it is a state of affair that negatively affect the personal or social involvement. So this is a socialization. Now, next slide. Rural economy. Rural economy, as everyone know, it is totally based on village agriculture. So if we talk about the rural economy in India, about the if we talk about the 2025, the Indian economy is expected to turn into 5 trillion economy. But rural economy hold the significant potential for creating decent and productive job. It eradicating poverty, ensuring food security, achieving social justice, and yet decent work deficit persists with many rural workers living in the poverty and working informally. So as soon underline the during United Nations Food System Summit in 2021, many of the sustainable development goal will not be achieved unless we take action to make decent work of reality for all women and men working in the agri-food system and rural economy, thus ensuring that we leave no one behind. So, strengthening constant capacity to formulate and implement policies and strategy for creating decent work in rural economy is a priority for the Indian Labour Organization, which is guided by 2008. So, rural employment for the poverty in reduction, which include priorities areas spanning throughout the 4 pillar of the decent work. So, this is all rural economy. I'm not going in detail because this is not in your detail is not given in your study material. Now come to the next slide. What is sector composition and employment? Sector composition and employment is a just this is a graph you can see. Now come to the next slide. This is a sector share in NDP growth rate. This is all growth rate in output and employment show large variance across sector all over different period, which help understand the country's rural economy. The sector wise growth rate in NDP and employment over 3 sub period 70 71. These all you can see. Now come to the land resource. What is land resource? This is also a very important part in rural development. It means the resource available from the land, thus the agriculture land, which contain natural fertilizer for the growth of products sown the underground water, the various mineral like coal, bauxite, gold, and other raw materials. So it encompasses the physical biotic environment, infrastructural and socio-economic component of the natural land limit, and also in including a service and near service freshwater resource, more important for the management. Now come to the water resource. This is also a very important in development, especially in rural development. It is a natural resource of water. It is potentially useful for human being. For example, source of drinking, water supply or irrigation. And 97% of water on the earth is salt water, and only 3% is a fresh water. And over two-thirds of the this frozen in glacier and polar ice cap, and the remaining unfrozen water is found mainly as a groundwater, with only a small fraction present above ground or in the air. So natural resources of fresh water include the surface water under river flow, groundwater, and frozen water. Even artificial source of fresh water can be included and treated as a wastewater and desalinated seawater. Human uses of water resource include agriculture, industrial, household, recreational, and environmental activities. So, water resources are under threat from water scarcity, water pollution, water conflict, climate change, and fresh water is a renewable resource. Yet the renewable resource word supply of groundwater is steadily decreasing, with the depletion of occurring most prominently in Asia, South America, and North America. So it is still unclear how much natural renewable balance this user and whether ecosystem is are threatened. So natural source of fresh water include surface water under river flow, groundwater, and frozen water. And surface water is water in river, lake, or freshwater wetland. So surface water is naturally replenished by precipitation and naturally lost through the discharge of to the oceans, evaporation, evapotranspiration, and groundwater recharge. So the only natural input to any surface water is a precipitation within the watershed, and the total quantity of water in that system at any given time is also dependent on many other factors, and these factors include storage capacity in lake, wetland, and artificial reservoir, the permeability of the soil beneath these storage bodies. So human often increase storage capacity by the constructing reservoir and decrease it by draining wetland. So this is natural water surface can be augmented by importing surface water it from another water um, surface shed. Now come to the energy resource, which is also very important. The term energy resource is any material can be used as a basis of energy, and it is also one very important non-renewable resource currently dominate the market. We have two type of energy resource, renewable and non-renewable, and renewable energy resource currently dominate the market. Renewable energy as a earth population continue to grow. Population from traditional energy sources are driving the changes demand. So solar energy is an example of renewable energy. Planet provide multitude of energy resource. So these are the two type of energy resources. Now come to the next slide. This is a current scenario in rural India. Has emerged the salvation of broken Indian economy. This is no need to tell you. Now come to the rural-urban linkage, which is very important. The rural-urban linkage is a part of society, means looking separately at urban and rural area and what matter to each of them, and it is vital to look at linkage between. So uh, a program of work on urbanization, the link between rural and urban area. So it divide people into either rural or urban. It often used policies are being developed, but it is in fact misleading and helpful. So the rural and urban are part of society, that form a whole society, and being a static, they interact with each other, have evolved in terms of size, structure, activities over the country due to and uh, internal forces which have influence. So rural urban interaction can be included in rural activity taking place in urban center. And what work seek, this is very important. First is improve to understand how changing rural urban interaction affect the livelihood of low income and vulnerable group in the both urban set and rural settlement, which is very important. So rural urban relationship is a kind of linkage, kind of local economic growth in both areas, like a rural and urban linkage. Now come to the next slide. This is I have told you. Now, this is a concept of migration and direction of migration. This is a last point. Migration, everyone know, it is a defined as a movement from the country, place, or locality to another, and search of better opportunity to settle. So when people move from one place to another place, this is called migration. And direction of migration is a very simple. Now I would like to stop here from this lecture and would like to some questions from yourself, from your side. If any question, any doubt, ask me, but in chat box. I would like to prefer in chat box. No questions? Yeah, ask Sad. Please ask on chat box because my network is weak, so I'm not able to hear very clearly. Yeah. What happened, Sad? Can you? I can hear you.
Ma'am, could you please describe what is the difference between caste, class, and tribe in Hindi, please, and not in English?
Okay, okay, okay. देखिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में 341 42 में हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने 14 ऑर्डिनेंस किए थे। उसमें मैं भारत में या इंडिया में जो ट्राइब्स है जिनको जनजाति कहते हैं, वो जनजाति जो होती है वो हमारे इंडिया में 532 जातियां हैं जो शहरों से और गांव से एकदम अलग रहती, जिनका अपना ओन कल्चर होता है, उनके अपने ओन कस्टम होते हैं, ओन रिचुअल्स होते हैं। दिस इज ये एक जनजाति होती है। कास्ट का मतलब होता है जहां जिस फैमिली में जिस पर्टिकुलर कास्ट में वो जन्म लेता है, जो कि वो चेंज नहीं हो सकती है, उसको हम एस्क्राइब्ड स्टेटस या प्रदत्त परिस्थिति के रूप में कहते हैं। क्लास हमारा जो बनता है, वर्ग जो हमारा बनता है, वो बनता है आपके कैपिटल से, पूंजी से, स्टेटस से, इकोनॉमी से, आर्थिक स्थिति से आपका क्लास बनता है। होप सो आपको समझ में आ गया होगा। भारत में बहुत सारी जनजातियां हैं जो अभी भी हमारे जो बहुत से कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस बने हुए हैं, उसमें आपका जो जातियों के लिए बाय कुछ लॉज बन गए हैं। कास्ट में भी जैसे आपका क्या बोलते हैं, परसेंटेज वाइज बना हुआ 50%, 21%, 27%, 3%। इसी तरीके से आपको ट्राइब है। ट्राइब का मेन चीज होता है इट इज नॉट, ये लोग हमारे शहरों और गांवों से सबसे अलग जंगलों में रहते हैं, जिनका अपना कस्टम, अपना रिचुअल अपना ही मानते हैं, बाहर का नहीं मानते हैं। जाति का मतलब होता है जिस फैमिली में हम जन्म लेते हैं उसको कहते हैं, और क्लास का मतलब होता है हमारा, हम अपनी इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस से जब आगे बढ़ते हैं, हायर क्लास, लोअर क्लास, मिडिल क्लास। ओके, I have seen one question, what is the difference between SC and ST? ST is a scheduled caste. It is a subdivision of caste, SC. ST is a tribe, scheduled tribe. Okay, getting? Yes, Muhammad Hanif. Please ask. OBC is a other backward class. Yeah, Hanif, ask
Sorry
the
for
question on.
disturbing you. What are the main differences between farmer and peasants?
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you are muted if you are speaking.
Peasant, for the most cases, it reflect an agricultural labor who is very poor and occupy the lower level of social hierarchy. And farmer, on another hand, designate a man who work on agricultural land or own farmland. Got it?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other question? Uh, do we have access to this PowerPoint file in yes, yes, you will get very soon this PowerPoint and all lectures to LMS. No, I think Mohammed Hanif.
Oh,
Do we access the
Muhammad
yes?
Hanif, please just remove your raised hand. This is the time for Hayatullah. The floor is for you, Hayatullah. Please proceed.
थैंक यू
Hayatullah.
मैडम, मेरा क्वेश्चन है, पहले मैंने चैट बॉक्स में मैंने टाइप किया क्योंकि आपने बताया शेड्यूल कास्ट और शेड्यूल ट्राइब्स अदर बैकवर्ड कास्ट, ये मैंने शॉर्ट में लिखा, लेकिन फुल फॉर्म मुझे पता था। इसके बारे में अगर कुछ डिटेल से बताए कि ये मैंने जो सुना है तो कोटास अक्सर जो है एजुकेशन और जॉब्स और
Okay.
इसके लिए रहते हैं, तो ये किस रीज़न से और अभी भी है इंडिया में? और
I think it is not needed in your syllabus, but I would like to tell you some major difference. OBC stand for other backward class, and it is used. This term is used in first time Mandal Commission in 1980. OBC are castes that fall between three higher ones and Dalits. Scheduled caste, Adivasis, scheduled tribes, they account for roughly for the Indian population. So these are the categories in caste system in India.
Okay.
Scheduled caste is also known as like traditionally and socially marginalized in India, where they face injustice as a result of their low caste. Scheduled tribe is also like tribal groups are socially banned in India and face discrimination. You can hope so getting.
Yes, madam. So the Shudra comes in which do they come in scheduled
In
caste?
scheduled caste. Shudra
Okay.
come in scheduled caste.
Okay, thank you.
Khudaidat, you can ask your question.
Yes, can you explain again function of education and civilization? Thank you.
Ma'am, you are muted.
I'm not able to hear your question. Please write a question on your chat box. I think you are not in network. Please write a question
Can
in
you
your
ex-
chat box.
can you explain the function of education and
Khudaida,
civilization?
you are not loud and clear.
Your voice is not clear. Please
Can
write
you
on chat box.
can you explain
Khudaida, and their participants, as you have not enough good internet connection,
education?
please just write in the chat box. Khudaida, you are not clear and loud and clear. We cannot hear you well. Please just write in the chat box.
Look, education not only improve an individual personality, but it also bring changes in the society and help it become a civilized society. So it educate them to stay connected to their norms and become a grounded. So it is very important for civilization. Education is a very important because the word civilization is important in acquire for by everyone, and it has been considered must have in everywhere. So education, what is function of education is a very important role in civilization. It's true. Not only it improve the individual personality, it also bring changes in the society. It become the and changes in society to become the civilized society, and it, to stay connected to their norms and to become grounded civilian. So education play a very important role in any civilized society, and civilized society is a fundamental aspect are associated with education. So the symbol of sound human development is one that teaches its youth to be a liberal and merciful, and it could be expected. One that trains them to comprehend the past and work towards a superior future. So education hold the way to cultural advancement, and that is the reason when oppressive dictators take power on the primary things they do is to take control from the colleges, revamp their educational plan. So yes, it is very important for civilization. uh, yes, function of education is socialization, and socialization is a in a very
Ma'am, you are muted.
okay. uh, if with the through the education society imparts its knowledge, skill, values, behavior pattern, its younger generation, they are preservation and continuity. So education is a process of socialization. It is a part of one part of socialization. So it is a function of socialization. This is also important for education is also important for socialization, for civilization. If you educate, if you are educated, you get be more socialized, or you can see a difference in education
Ma'am,
and non-educated people.
yeah, to just add some more information, if I'm right, it means that that is why the education is a part of the socialization, because of maybe in the environment of the universities
Right.
or the schools, when we were going to there, we just uh, see the different cultures, different peoples living
Yeah,
and
right.
talking there, especially in the classrooms, in the
Mm-hmm.
university environment. And I think
Mm-hmm.
beside this, when we are just coming to the society, when we are just delivering the services to others, of course, we will just meet with the different customers with different beliefs and cultures. So I think it may be also part of this that will become more as a function of this socializations. Am I right?
Right. Yeah, right, right.
Okay.
So the session is over now. We will meet again as your schedule. So okay, take care. Good session.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for the presentation. You were very loud and clear. And I just have one small recommendation,
Okay.
in case it's possible. that actually I'm not familiarized with Indian language, but by the support of the Bollywood movies, I'm good. At least I can understand. So when you just answered the question to one of our colleagues, Said Ruhollah, in Indian, you were more clear on that because you give lots of real example on that. So if it is possible, in the second, how to say, the second
Okay.
time, you can just give us also some real example of some things. In case I know that it cannot be comparable with the our society, but at least in Indian, it could
Okay.
help us to learn more and understand the topics well. Thank you very much.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
So far we have done, and I'm just going to stop the record. And their participants, stay safe. Good night, and bye bye.
Okay. Please stop the recording.
Ma'am, are you able to stop the recording? Because I'm not. I'm just trying, but I'm not able to stop the recording.
Even I am also not able to stop the recording.
Yeah, because the organizer have just collected the thought. But by the way, when the session is ended, of course, it will be automatically end as well.
I think so. Okay.
Yeah, but at least all participants must leave. If there is someone, the recording will be continued. So I'm
Continue.
requesting the participant to immediately leave to maybe make sure that the session will be end. نورالله صاحب محب الله و خداداد اگر صدای مرا میشنوین بزرگوارا میشه سیشن لیفت بکنین به خاطری که ریکارد قطع شوه ببخشین محب الله و خداداد جان میشنوین محب الله جان. Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. Take care and see you soon in the next session. Thank you very much for presentation.